A while back, we had a moment where a bill came due well before another check would arrive. And unfortunately, it wasn't one we could just put off until the money arrived. I didn't panic. Well, I did a little bit, but not fully. Instead, I opened my phone, navigated to an app, and simply typed, "We are $200 short for rent this month." Within moments, the money arrived in my Venmo account. I paid rent and then let my husband know it was taken care of, and then explained the concept of mutual aid. Mutual aid at its basic level is people helping other people without the pressure of loans or the justification of charity, just people helping other people. Author, lawyer, and activist Dean Spade says this about mutual aid. Mutual aid is collective coordination to meet each other's needs, usually from an awareness that the systems we have in place are not going to meet them. Those systems, in fact, have often created the crisis or are making things worse. We see examples of mutual aid in every single social movement, whether it's people raising money for workers on strike, setting up ride-sharing system during the Montgomery bus boycott, putting drinking water in the desert for migrants crossing the border, training each other in emergency medicine because ambulance response time in poor neighborhoods is too slow, raising money to pay for abortions for those who can't afford them, or coordinating letter writing to prisoners. These are mutual aid projects. They directly meet people's survival needs and are based on a shared understanding that the conditions in which we were made to live are unjust. And mutual aid networks are popping up again. I've been a part of them for a few years in various circles. Support circles for LGBTQIA beloveds who need to get out of our state. Part of a network to help people needing transportation to find medical care in another location. And part of a circle of dear friends who quietly send each other money when we need it. But now, I think now everyone else is realizing what these circles have always known. We need each other to survive. We are waking up over this last year and realizing that we cannot rely on the structures we've relied on before. Federal workers have been without pay since the government shutdown, and these aren't vacations, as their bills don't take vacations. Many are still working without pay and no idea when they will be paid, and if that even includes the back pay for this period of time. But rent, mortgage, electric bills, car payments, insurance, etc., these things don't stop. Today, nearly 42 million Americans are scrambling to figure out how they will feed their families. SNAP benefits, also known as food stamps, were cut due to the government shutdown. Unless you think these benefits are for people who just need to get a job, please know that the majority of those on SNAP benefits do work. When I worked at a very well-known grocery store here in the South, the majority of my coworkers used these benefits, even while working full-time. Again from Spade, quote, "Today, many of us live in the most atomized societies in human history, which makes our lives less secure and undermines our ability to organize together to change unjust conditions on a large scale. We are put in competition with each other for survival, and we are forced to rely on hostile systems like healthcare systems designed around profit, not keeping people healthy, or food and transportation systems that pollute the earth and poison people for the things we need. More and more people report that they have no one they can confide in when they are in trouble. This means many of us do not get help with mental health, drug use, family violence, or abuse until the police or courts are involved, which tends to escalate rather than resolve harm. In this context of social isolation and forced dependency on hostile systems, mutual aid, where we choose to help each other out, share things, and put time and resources into caring for the most vulnerable, is a radical act. Mutual aid is a radical act. So, what exactly is mutual aid? Well, first of all, it's more than just friends giving each other money or canned goods or a ride. Mutual aid works to meet survival needs while also building understanding around why people do not have what they need. And this is important. I don't know if you've gone looking for a job recently, but I encourage you to check in on job board postings, even if you're not looking. Jobs that require a college degree pay $16 an hour. That is not easy to live on. Last year, there was an article in the Orlando Sentinel that stated that for people to afford to live, not even comfortably, just to survive, an income of $100,000 a year minimum was necessary. Again, most jobs, even full-time jobs, are only offering $16 an hour. Let me do that math for you. At 16 an hour and 40 hours a week, that's just over 33,000 a year. That's not counting having taxes and benefits taken out of the check. And we wonder why 42 million people are on SNAP. One of the most famous mutual aid programs in our history was the Black Panther Party. They had a free breakfast program, free ambulance program, free medical clinics, ride offerings for elderly people doing errands, and a school for children. They welcomed people in by creating spaces where their needs could be met. It's hard to fight for liberation when you're starving. Now, history paints them differently, but it's important to note that the Department of Agriculture's free breakfast program for children started shortly after the Black Panther Party was attacked and demonized. But let's be clear, the free breakfast program of the Department of Agriculture was not based in mutual aid. It was based on the charity model. Mutual aid builds solidarity by providing for needs that can keep us from working for liberation and justice. As opposed to a charity model that determines who is worthy of help for a single issue, mutual aid requires us to look at the intersectionality of issues that affect us all. Again, from Spade, quote, solidarity and an ever expanding commitment to justice emerge from contact with the complex realities of injustice. This is exactly how movements are built, as people become connected to each other and as one urgent issue unspools into a broader vision of social transformation. We cannot tackle the problem of food insecurity without looking at the federal minimum wage, the rising housing costs, food deserts, rising healthcare costs, etc. Another element of mutual aid is that it is participatory. Again, Spade says mutual aid projects help people develop skills for collaboration, participation, and decision making. For example, people engaged in a project to help one another through housing court proceedings will learn the details of how the system harms people and how to fight it. But they will also learn about meeting facilitation, working across differences, retaining volunteers, addressing conflict, giving and receiving feedback, following through, and coordinating schedules and transportation. They may also learn that it is not just lawyers who can do this kind of work, and that many people, including themselves, have something to offer. This departs from expertise-based social services that tell us we need to have a social worker, licensed therapist, lawyer, or some other person with an advanced degree to get things done. Mutual aid networks realize that we all have something to offer, and we all work together to get things done. Mutual aid is not charity. There's nothing you have to do to earn or prove to receive help in a mutual aid network. It breaks the traditional charity model that asks if you're worthy to receive help. The Big Door Brigade, a group helping others create mutual aid networks, says this about the difference. Charity also frames people in need as morally lesser than rich people, as if poverty were the fault of the poor rather than the fault of systems of racism, heteropatriarchy, ableism, land theft, and labor exploitation that make some people rich and keep other people poor. Charity looks like generosity from rich people, but actually upholds the systems that make most people poor for the benefit of the few. And I can attest to this. Remember the story from the beginning. I did look into how the housing assistance groups might help us, and it would have taken a ton of paperwork and too much time. And in some cases, you had to have an eviction notice before they'd help you. Mutual aid upsets this model by saying that the crises people are in are due to the systemic issues in our society, not because they are good or bad. Mutual aid says, I trust that you know your situation, and this is what I can offer to help. So, how do you get involved? Well, the website Public Health Degrees has this to offer about connecting with mutual aid networks. One, be aware of how you show up in a space. As someone who is new to mutual aid, it's important to consider how you fit into your community. Acknowledge your privilege when necessary, add your voice only when needed, and listen to the needs of the people seeking support. Two, do your research. Connect with organizers already doing work in your community. Find out what networks and services are present and see how you can contribute to existing efforts instead of attempting to start something new right away. Three, follow mutual aid groups on social media. Mutual aid organizers often boost requests from other groups as well as requests from individuals in the community. This not only keeps you informed about what your local mutual aid group is working on, but can also alert you to other opportunities to contribute. Finally, consider what you can offer. Donating money and providing material resources is just one way to contribute to mutual aid. You may also be able to offer your time as a volunteer, share your skills with others, serve as a translator if you're multilingual, and find other hands on opportunities. And again, from the same site, how you can contribute to mutual aid networks. The main way that we all know is to donate money. This can include donating to funds for specific individuals, as well as organizations that can use the money to purchase needed items for their community. You can also provide resources. Some mutual aid efforts include calls for material item donations, such as food or cold weather supplies, which they can distribute to community members. Also, offer your time. Serving as a volunteer for an organization to collect and distribute goods can be a hands on approach for those who have the means to do so. And finally, leverage your skills. A variety of skills can be helpful to mutual aid efforts. Examples include donating time to designing graphics for social media, writing a press release, or offering expertise to educate community members on important health topics. And if all that seems too much, begin creating your pods. Much like we did during the pandemic, find the people nearby that you can connect with. Find how you can help one another if there is no one else to help. Because the reality is that we likely need to prepare for that. We are all in this together, and we need one another to survive. May we remember that mutual aid is about justice, and justice is what love looks like in public. Amen. May it be so, and blessed be.